The notification popped up on my laptop while I was reviewing quarterly reports at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. My wife Emily's iPad, synced to our shared cloud account, had just uploaded a photo. I almost ignored it. Almost. But something made me click. Maybe it was the timestamp, 10:47 p.m., when she'd told me an hour ago she was heading to bed early because her book club ran late and she was exhausted. Maybe it was intuition. Maybe I'm just the kind of fool who goes looking for pain. The image loaded slowly, line by line, like my brain was trying to protect me by delaying the inevitable. It was a selfie. Emily, my wife of 9 years, wearing lingerie I'd never seen before, red lace that probably cost more than our monthly electric bill. But she wasn't alone. Behind her, shirtless, with his hands on her waist, was someone I recognized immediately. Todd Brennan, my former college roommate and current business partner. My business partner. The man I'd lent $50,000 to last year when his mother needed surgery. The man who'd been best man at our wedding. The man who came to our house every Sunday for dinner because he was practically family. I sat there, frozen, staring at Emily's smile in that photo. It wasn't the polite smile she gave me anymore when I got home from work. It was the smile from our honeymoon in Maui, the one I hadn't seen in years. Wild, uninhibited, genuinely happy. My hands started shaking. The laptop screen blurred as my eyes watered, but I couldn't look away. I zoomed in on the background details like a detective at a crime scene. The wallpaper, that distinctive gray and silver pattern. The modern light fixtures. The corner of a king-sized bed with black silk sheets. I knew exactly where they were. The Meridian Hotel downtown. The same hotel where Emily had told me she was attending a corporate training seminar next weekend. The same hotel where Todd had mentioned he was meeting potential investors. The photo had been taken tonight. Right now, while I sat at home like an idiot, working late to finish reports for our company, the company Todd and I had built together over the past 6 years. My phone buzzed. A text from Emily. Going to sleep now. Don't stay up too late working. Love you. Love you. I stared at those 2 words until they stopped making sense. Just random letters arranged in a cruel joke. Another notification. The cloud had uploaded another photo. I shouldn't have looked. Every rational part of my brain screamed at me to close the laptop, to preserve whatever dignity I had left, to not torture myself further. I looked anyway. This one was worse, much worse. They were kissing, and the way his hands were positioned, the way her back was arched. This wasn't new. This wasn't a mistake or a moment of weakness. This was practiced, comfortable, routine. How long? The question echoed in my skull like a gunshot in an empty room. How long had this been happening? I opened my phone and scrolled through my calendar, cross-referencing Emily's late nights at work, her girls' weekends, her book club meetings. The pattern emerged like a constellation I'd been too blind to see. Every other Thursday for the past 4 months. 2 weekend trips in the last 6 weeks. That work conference in Denver where Todd had also been meeting clients. 4 months. Minimum. Maybe longer. I thought about our daughter, Lily. 7 years old, asleep upstairs, completely unaware that her world was about to implode. I thought about the house we'd just finished renovating, the one Emily had insisted we pour our savings into. I thought about the life insurance policy I'd increased last month because Todd had convinced me it was the responsible thing to do for your family. The responsible thing. I laughed then, a sound that came out wrong, like broken glass scraping against concrete. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Emily. Are you still working? You really should get some sleep. The audacity of it. The sheer, breathtaking audacity. I stood up, my chair rolling backward and hitting the wall. I needed to move, to do something. to channel the rage building in my chest before it consumed me entirely. I paced the office, my home office, in the house I'd bought, that I was paying the mortgage on while my wife screwed my business partner in a hotel room downtown. Think, I told myself. Don't react. Think. I was a project manager. Analysis and planning were what I did. I built systems. I solved problems. I could approach this logically. I sat back down and opened a new document on my laptop. I titled it Evidence and began taking screenshots. The photos, the timestamps. I logged into our shared credit card account, the one Emily thought I never checked because she handled the household finances. There it was, a paper trail of betrayal, itemized and categorized. The Meridian Hotel, multiple charges over the past 4 months. Restaurants I'd never been to, a jewelry store purchase for $800 last month. I never received any jewelry. Victoria's Secret, $340. I'd certainly never seen those purchases modeled for me. I checked our bank statements. Regular cash withdrawals, $200 at a time, always on Thursdays. Their day, apparently. I opened my email and searched for Todd's name. Hundreds of messages. I started reading them with new eyes, looking for the lies hidden between discussions of profit margins and client meetings. There, a message from 3 months ago about a canceled investor dinner. The same night Emily had come home at midnight, claiming her book club had gone long. My phone rang. Emily's name lit up the screen. I stared at it, watching it vibrate against the desk. 4 rings. 5. It went to voicemail. Immediately, it rang again. The phone kept buzzing against the desk. Emily's name flashed across the screen again and again, each call more insistent than the last. I stared at it, watching the vibrations create tiny ripples in the cold coffee I'd abandoned hours ago. She knew. Somehow, she knew I'd seen them. My finger hovered over the answer button. Part of me, the part that still remembered 9 years of marriage, of Sunday mornings and inside jokes, wanted to pick up. Wanted to hear her explanation. Wanted her to tell me it was all a mistake, a misunderstanding, some elaborate prank that had gone too far. But the photos on my screen told a different story. I let it go to voicemail. Again. The silence that followed felt heavier than the ringing. I refreshed the cloud account, checking for new uploads. Nothing yet. The last image was still the one of them kissing. Todd's hand tangled in her hair, her body pressed against his like she couldn't get close enough. My wife, my business partner, the 2 people I'd trusted most in the world. A text appeared. Please pick up. I need to talk to you. Then another. Are you okay? You're scaring me. The sheer audacity of it made my jaw clench. She was scared? She was worried about me? I took a screenshot of her messages, added them to the folder I'd created. Evidence folder number 3 now contained 47 items. Bank statements, hotel receipts, calendar screenshots, photos, text messages where she told me she loved me while actively lying about her location. My phone buzzed with a different caller ID. Todd. I actually laughed. The sound came out wrong, harsh and unfamiliar in the quiet of my office. Of course he was calling now. They were probably together, Emily panicking beside him, realizing something had gone wrong with their careful deception. I didn't answer his call either. Instead, I opened our business email account. If I was going to document everything, I needed to understand the full scope. Todd had access to our company finances. He'd borrowed 50 grand from me personally. But what about the business accounts? I logged into our accounting software, pulling up the last 6 months of transactions. Everything looked normal at first, standard operating expenses, payroll, vendor payments. But then I started looking closer, filtering for cash withdrawals and unusual transfers. There. a pattern I'd missed before. Small amounts. 500 here, 700 there. Always withdrawn by Todd, always categorized as client entertainment or business development. Individually, they were nothing suspicious. Together, they added up to almost $12,000 over 4 months. The same 4 months as the affair. I pulled up the receipts he'd submitted. Dinners at restaurants I recognized. Upscale places downtown. The dates matched some of Emily's book club nights and training seminars. He'd been expensing their affair, using our company money, my money, to wine and dine my wife. The cold fury I'd been holding at bay crystallized into something sharper. This wasn't just betrayal. This was theft. Fraud. He'd been stealing from our business to fund his relationship with my wife. I started a new spreadsheet, cross-referencing every suspicious expense with Emily's calendar and our credit card statements. The picture that emerged made me feel sick. Thursday, March 14th. Todd expenses $340 dinner at Russo's. Emily's calendar says book club. Our credit card shows a $180 charge at the same restaurant, same night, different time. He'd taken her to dinner, then she'd come home and told me about her evening with the girls. I'd asked how it went. She'd smiled and said it was fine, that they'd discussed some thriller she hadn't actually read. I'd believed her. Like an idiot, I'd believed every word. The pattern repeated. Again and again. Sometimes twice a week. He'd even expense the hotel rooms, coded as overnight client meetings, in cities we didn't have clients. My phone rang again. Emily. This time, a voicemail followed immediately. I watched the notification appear, waited 30 seconds, then played it. Hey, it's me. Her voice sounded strained, worried. I got a weird notification on my iPad. Something about photos uploading? I think there might be a glitch with the cloud sync. Can you call me back? I'm worried something's wrong with the account. She was good. I had to give her that. If I hadn't seen the photos myself, if I didn't know exactly what she was trying to hide, I might have bought it. The concerned wife, worried about a technical problem, calling her husband for help. But I'd seen her face in those images. The expression she wore when Todd kissed her neck. That wasn't the face of someone worried about cloud storage glitches. I saved the voicemail, added it to my evidence folder. Another text from Todd. Hey man, you still up? Need to talk to you about the Paulson contract. The Paulson contract. We didn't have a Paulson contract. We'd never had a client named Paulson. He was testing me, trying to figure out if I was awake, if I was suspicious, if I knew. I looked at the clock. 11:47 p.m. They'd been calling and texting for almost 20 minutes now. Whatever had tipped them off, they were getting desperate. My email pinged. A message from Emily, sent from her phone. I'm coming home. Something's wrong with my iPad and I need to check it. Be there in 20 minutes. She was leaving the hotel, leaving Todd, rushing home to do damage control, to delete the evidence before I could see it. Too late. I looked around my office at the 9 years of accumulated life scattered across the shelves. Photos of our wedding, of Lily's birth, of family vacations and holiday dinners. Todd appeared in half of them, grinning beside me like the brother I'd never had. All of it had been a lie. But I had 20 minutes before Emily walked through that door. 20 minutes before I had to decide how to play this. The responsible thing would be to confront her immediately, to lay out the evidence, demand answers, start the difficult conversations about divorce and custody and splitting assets. But the responsible thing had gotten me here. Trusting, believing, working late while my wife shared hotel rooms with my business partner. I opened a new browser window and searched for divorce attorneys in the area. Found one with good reviews, specializing in high-asset divorces and business dissolution. Made a note of the number. Then I searched for forensic accountants. If Todd had been stealing from the business, I needed to know exactly how much and for how long. And I needed documentation that would hold up in court. My phone buzzed. A text from Emily. 15 minutes. Please be awake. I need you. I almost threw the phone across the room. Instead, I took a breath and started organizing my evidence folders. Screenshots went into one file, financial documents into another, timeline analysis into a third. Everything dated, everything labeled, everything backed up to 3 separate cloud accounts that Emily didn't have access to. When I was done, I had a complete picture of at least 4 months of systematic deception. Probably longer. These were just the pieces I could prove. I closed my laptop and stood up, my legs stiff from sitting in the same position for almost an hour. Through the window, I could see our street, quiet and dark. Normal. Like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. In 10 minutes, Emily would walk through our front door. She'd smile, probably, that same smile she'd given me 1,000 times before. She'd make up some story about the iPad, about the cloud sync, about why she'd really left book club early. And I'd have to decide whether to let her keep lying. I heard a car pull into the driveway. She was early. The garage door rumbled open. I closed the laptop and sat in the darkness of my office, listening to her footsteps echo through the mudroom. Quick, purposeful. The jingle of keys hitting the ceramic bowl on the entry table. The soft thud of her purse. Honey? Her voice carried up the stairs, bright with manufactured concern. Are you still up? I didn't answer. Let her wonder. Let her search. Her footsteps moved through the first floor, kitchen, living room, back to the kitchen. I heard the iPad being picked up from the counter where she'd left it that morning. A pause. The distinctive sound of her unlocking it. Then silence. She was checking the Photos app, seeing what I'd seen, calculating how much damage had been done. Everything okay? I called down, keeping my voice neutral. Tired project manager, up late finishing work. Nothing unusual. Yes, just a beat too long. Just wanted to grab my iPad. Thought I'd left it at Claire's. Claire. The book club alibi. I wondered if Claire even existed, or if she was just another convenient fiction in the elaborate story Emily had constructed. I'm in my office, I said. Come up if you want. I heard her hesitation from 2 rooms away. She didn't want to come up. She wanted to delete the evidence, text Todd that the situation was contained, maybe even drive back to the Meridian to strategize. But refusing would be suspicious. Her footsteps started up the stairs. Slower now. Each step a calculation. I turned on my desk lamp just as she appeared in the doorway. She'd changed clothes, the red dress from the photos replaced by yoga pants and an oversized sweatshirt. Her makeup was different too. Lighter. The carefully applied evening face scrubbed down to something more appropriate for a Tuesday night book club. She'd stopped somewhere between the hotel and home to transform back into my wife. Hey. She leaned against the doorframe, iPad clutched to her chest. You're up late. Quarterly projections. I gestured at the closed laptop. You know how it is. Right. She glanced at the laptop, then at me. How's it looking? Interesting. I met her eyes. Found some unexpected expenses in the entertainment budget. Going to need to dig into those tomorrow. Something flickered across her face. Fear, maybe. Or calculation. Todd's been handling most of the client dinners lately, she said carefully. You should probably ask him. I will. We looked at each other across the dim office. 9 years of marriage compressed into this single moment. I could see her trying to read me, searching for signs that I knew. That I'd seen. Did you have a good time at book club? I asked. It was fine. She shifted her weight. We're reading this thriller about a woman whose husband is lying to her. Very twisty. The sheer audacity of it almost made me laugh. Sounds entertaining, I said. What's it called? She blinked. What? The book. What's it called? Oh, her fingers tightened on the iPad. The woman in the window? No, that's not right. The woman in the water? God, I'm so tired I can't even remember. Because there was no book, no club, just Todd and a hotel room and red lingerie that cost more than our monthly grocery budget. You should get some sleep, I said. Yeah. But she didn't move. Are you coming to bed soon? Probably another hour. Want to finish these projections while the numbers are fresh? She nodded slowly, still watching me, still trying to determine if this was normal or if something had shifted. Your phone rang earlier, I added. Around 11. I didn't answer it. Oh? Too casual. Who was it? Didn't recognize the number. They didn't leave a message. Probably spam. She pushed off from the doorframe. Well, don't stay up too late. Emily? She turned back, and I saw the tension in her shoulders. I love you, I said. Her expression softened. Guilt, maybe, or relief that I didn't know. That she'd gotten away with it for another night. Love you too. She smiled, and it almost looked genuine. See you in bed. I listened to her footsteps retreat down the hall, the bedroom door closing, the sound of running water from the bathroom, washing off the last traces of her evening with Todd. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. We need to talk. Tomorrow. 7 a.m. Riverside Park, North Entrance. Come alone. Todd. I stared at the message. He was panicking. Probably assumed I'd seen the photos. Probably wanted to get ahead of the situation. Confess, maybe. Or spin some story about how it just happened. How sorry he was. How it meant nothing. Or maybe he wanted to threaten me. Remind me that he knew where the business bodies were buried, that destroying him would mean destroying myself. I deleted the text without responding. My phone buzzed again. Emily this time, from the bedroom, one floor below. Thank you for being so understanding about me going out tonight. I know you've been stressed with work. I'm lucky to have you. I read it 3 times, each word a small knife. She was in our bed, in our house, texting me gratitude for being understanding about the night she'd spent having sex with my business partner. The man who'd stood beside me at our wedding. The man who'd held Lily when she was 2 days old and told me I was going to be a great father. I thought about walking down the hall and confronting her right now. Showing her the screenshots, the credit card statements, the evidence of Todd's embezzlement. Watching her face as she realized how completely I'd documented her betrayal. But that would be reactive, emotional. I needed to be strategic. Another text from the unknown number. I know you're awake. I can explain everything. Just give me a chance. For Lily's sake. Using my daughter as leverage. That was a new low, even for Todd. I blocked the number. Then I opened my laptop and pulled up the folder of evidence I'd compiled. Screenshots, bank statements, hotel receipts, calendar comparisons. Everything organized and time-stamped. Everything backed up to 3 separate cloud accounts Emily didn't know existed. But evidence wasn't enough. I needed a plan. I opened a new document and started typing. Immediate priorities. 1. Secure finances, separate accounts, freeze joint credit, document all assets. 2. Meet with attorney, divorce proceedings, custody strategy. 3. Meet with forensic accountant, full business audit, criminal fraud investigation. 4. Protect Lily, therapy resources, custody documentation, minimize exposure. 5. Remove Todd from business, buyout terms, legal separation of partnership. The list grew. Each item spawned sub-items. Each sub-item required research, documentation, strategy. This was what I did. Break down complex problems into manageable tasks. Execute systematically. My marriage was ending. My business partnership was ending. My daughter's family was being torn apart. But I could control how it happened. I worked until 3 a.m., building spreadsheets and timelines and contingency plans, researching family law attorneys and forensic accountants, reading divorce strategy forms and business dissolution guidelines. When I finally went to bed, Emily was asleep, her iPad charging on the nightstand. I could see the glow of notifications through the dark screen. Probably Todd, still trying to reach her. Still panicking. I lay down on my side of the bed, the side I'd slept on for 9 years, and stared at the ceiling. Emily shifted in her sleep, rolling toward me. Her hand found mine under the covers, fingers intertwining the way they had 1,000 nights before. It was instinct, muscle memory, the unconscious habit of a woman who'd shared my bed for nearly a decade. I didn't pull away. Tomorrow I'd start dismantling everything we'd built. But tonight, in the darkness, I let her hold my hand and pretended we were still the people we'd been yesterday. Before the photos. Before the evidence. Before I knew. My phone buzzed one last time. Another blocked number. Another message from Todd that I'd never read. I closed my eyes and waited for morning. I woke up at 5:47 a.m., 3 minutes before my alarm. Emily's hand was still in mine, cold now, her breathing deep and even. I extracted myself carefully, the same way I'd done 1,000 mornings before, and went through the motions of a normal Wednesday. Shower, shave, coffee. I stood in the kitchen watching the Keurig sputter and hiss, thinking about how Todd took his coffee. Black, 2 sugars. I'd made it for him probably 500 times over the years. Early mornings at the office, late nights closing deals, Sunday dinners at this very table. The coffee finished brewing. I poured it down the sink and made another cup. At 6:15, I heard Lily's feet hit the floor upstairs. The familiar thump, thump, thump of her morning routine. Bathroom, then her room, then the stairs. She appeared in the kitchen doorway in her unicorn pajamas, hair sticking up in 3 different directions. Morning, Daddy. Morning, sweetheart. I pulled out the chair she always sat in. Cereal or waffles? Waffles. Can I have the strawberry ones? I put 2 in the toaster and watched her swing her legs under the table, humming something from whatever show she'd been watching lately. 7 years old. Her whole world built on a foundation I was about to demolish. Emily came down at 6:30, already dressed for work in gray slacks and a blue blouse I'd seen 100 times. She kissed Lily's head, then mine, and poured herself coffee from the pot I'd made. "You're up early," she said. "Couldn't sleep." She studied me for a moment, and I saw the calculation behind her eyes. Wondering if I knew. Wondering what I'd seen. I kept my face neutral, the same expression I used in client meetings when the numbers didn't add up, but I wasn't ready to show my hand. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Fine. Just thinking about the Patterson account. Big presentation Friday." The lie came easily. Maybe too easily. She nodded and turned back to her coffee, satisfied. I drove Lily to school at 7:30, watched her run across the playground toward her friend group, backpack bouncing against her shoulders. She turned and waved before disappearing through the double doors. I waved back. Then I sat in the parking lot and made a phone call. "Whitmore and Associates, how may I direct your call?" "James Whitmore, please. Tell him David Brenner is calling regarding the consultation request I submitted last night." One moment. The hold music was generic piano. I watched a crossing guard help a straggler reach the school entrance, her safety vest bright against the gray morning. "Mr. Brenner, James Whitmore. I received your email at 4:32 this morning. Quite thorough documentation. I'm methodical. So I see. I have an opening at 2 p.m. today if you're available. Given the complexity of the business partnership component, I'd like to bring in my colleague Patricia Novak. She specializes in partnership dissolution and fraud cases. That works. Excellent. I'll send a confirmation email. In the meantime, do not, and I cannot stress this enough, do not confront either party. Do not alter any financial accounts. Do not move any assets. Continue normal behavior until we've developed a comprehensive strategy. Understood. One more thing, Mr. Brenner. The evidence you've compiled is exceptional, but we need to be certain it was obtained legally. We'll discuss that this afternoon. I ended the call and stared at the school building. Somewhere inside, Lily was settling into her desk, pulling out her homework, chattering with her friends about whatever 7-year-olds talked about. Completely unaware. I drove to the office. The building looked the same as always. 10 stories of glass and steel in the business district, our company name on the directory in the lobby. Brenner and Todd Consulting, 6th floor. We'd argued about the name order for weeks before deciding alphabetically was fairest. The elevator took forever. I watched the numbers climb and thought about the first time we'd ridden up together after signing the lease. Todd had brought champagne. We'd toasted to the future. The office was empty when I arrived at 8:15. I went to my desk and opened the financial software, pulling up the reports I'd started analyzing the night before. The $12,000 in fraudulent expenses was just what I'd found in 2 hours. A full audit would take days. I heard the elevator ding at 8:47. Todd's footsteps in the hallway, his key in the lock. The door opened and he walked in carrying his usual coffee from the shop downstairs. He stopped when he saw me. "You're here early." "Couldn't sleep." He set his coffee down carefully, studying my face the same way Emily had. "Looking for cracks in the facade?" "About my texts last night?" "I didn't see them. Phone died around 10. Forgot to charge it." The lie hung in the air between us. He nodded slowly. "Right. Well, I wanted to talk about the Patterson account. I think we should adjust our approach for Friday's presentation." "Sure. Let me finish this report and we can discuss it." He lingered for another moment, then went to his office. I heard his door close, then the sound of his chair, then nothing. I pulled up my email and found the message from Whitmore and Associates. Confirmation for 2 p.m. I marked it as personal and locked my screen. The morning passed in surreal normalcy. Todd and I reviewed the Patterson presentation at 10 a.m. We made small talk about the weather. He asked about Lily's science project. I answered automatically, the words coming from some autopilot part of my brain while the rest of me watched him like a specimen under glass. This was the man who'd been my roommate sophomore year, who'd helped me move into my first apartment, who'd stood beside me at my wedding and made a toast about brotherhood and loyalty that had everyone crying. This was the man who'd borrowed $50,000 for his mother's surgery and thanked me with tears in his eyes. This was the man who'd been sleeping with my wife in hotel rooms downtown while I worked late to keep our business afloat. "You seem distracted," he said. "Just tired. Like I said, couldn't sleep. Maybe you should take the afternoon off. I can handle things here." I almost laughed. The sheer nerve of it. Sending me home so he could… What? Call Emily? Plan their next meeting? Cover his tracks? "I'm fine," I said. "Actually, I do have an appointment at 2. Personal matter. Should be back by 4. "No problem. Take your time." I left the office at 1:30 and drove across town to the address Whitmore had provided. A building even nicer than ours, all marble and brass in the lobby. The elevator was smooth and silent. 14th floor. The receptionist led me to a conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. James Whitmore was exactly what I'd expected from his website photo. Mid-50s, silver hair, expensive suit. Patricia Novak was younger, maybe 40, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. They'd printed out everything I'd sent. The photos were in a neat stack, face down on the table. The financial records were organized in color-coded folders. "Mr. Brenner, thank you for coming in." Whitmore gestured to a chair. Before we begin, I need to ask you some questions about how you obtained this evidence. I sat down and told them everything. The accidental photo upload, Emily's shared iCloud account, the financial software I had legitimate access to as co-owner of the business, the public social media posts, the hotel website that confirmed reservations under Todd's name. Novak took notes in a leather portfolio, her pen moving quickly across the page. "And you haven't confronted either party?" Whitmore asked. "No." "Haven't altered any financial accounts, moved any assets, or discussed this with anyone except this office?" "Correct." "Good." He leaned back in his chair. "Here's what we're looking at. On the divorce side, you're in a no-fault state, but adultery can still impact asset division and potentially custody arrangements. The documentation you have is solid. Text messages, photographs, financial records showing a pattern of deception. A judge will take this seriously." Novak picked up the thread. "On the business side, the embezzlement is clear-cut fraud. The question is, how much and how long? We'll need a forensic accountant to do a complete audit. I can recommend someone who's worked with us before. Former FBI, very thorough." The receptionist led me down a hallway lined with framed diplomas and bar certifications. James Whitmore's office occupied the corner. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown, mahogany desk that probably cost more than my car. Leather chairs that whispered money with every creak. Whitmore stood when I entered. Mid-50s, silver hair, navy suit that fit like it had been sewn directly onto his body. Patricia Novak rose from the chair beside his desk. Younger, maybe 40, auburn hair pulled back tight, eyes that missed nothing. "Mr. Brenner." Whitmore's handshake was firm, professional. "Please, sit." I settled into the chair across from them, the flash drive heavy in my pocket. "Before we begin," Novak said, pulling out a legal pad, "I want to confirm what we discussed on the phone. You're looking at both dissolution of marriage and dissolution of business partnership, correct?" "Yes." "And the same individual is involved in both situations?" "My business partner, Todd Brennan. He's been sleeping with my wife for at least 4 months." Novak wrote something down. Whitmore leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled. "Walk us through what you know," he said. I pulled out the flash drive. "Everything's on here. Photos, financial records, calendar cross-references, credit card statements. The affair started at least 4 months ago, possibly longer. They've been using the Meridian Hotel downtown every other Thursday. Emily, my wife, has been coding it as book club meetings and work events." Whitmore plugged the drive into his computer. His expression didn't change as he clicked through the folders I'd spent all night organizing. "The business component," Novak prompted. "Todd's been embezzling, charging affair expenses to our company accounts as client entertainment. I've documented roughly 12,000 so far, but I haven't done a complete audit." "You'll need a forensic accountant for that," Novak said. "I can recommend someone." "Already on my list." Whitmore looked up from the screen. "This is thorough work, Mr. Brenner. When did you discover the affair?" "Last night, around 11. His eyebrows rose fractionally. "You compiled all this in less than 24 hours? "I'm a project manager. Organization is what I do." "Have you confronted either of them?" "No. Emily knows the photos uploaded to the cloud. She and Todd both called me in a panic. But I played dumb. Told her I was working, hadn't checked my phone. She came home, tried to explain it away as a technical glitch." "And this morning?" Novak asked. "Normal. I made breakfast, got Lily ready for school, went to work. Todd's been trying to reach me all day, but I've been in meetings." Whitmore exchanged a glance with Novak. Something passed between them. Approval, maybe, or recognition. "Here's what you need to understand," Whitmore said. "California is a no-fault divorce state. Your wife's infidelity won't directly impact the division of assets or custody. However, he held up a hand as I started to speak. The financial misconduct is a different story. If Todd has been misappropriating company funds, that gives us significant leverage in the partnership dissolution. What about custody? The question came out rougher than I intended. Novak's expression softened slightly. You said your daughter is 7? Lily, yes. Does your wife work? Part-time. Consulting work from home, maybe 20 hours a week. I'm the primary earner. Who handles most of the childcare? I thought about school drop-offs, homework help, bedtime stories. It's split pretty evenly. Emily does mornings, I do evenings. We both attend parent-teacher conferences, school events. Any concerns about her as a mother? Substance abuse, neglect? Anything that would indicate unfitness? No, she's a good mother. The words tasted like ash. Whatever else she is, she takes care of Lily. Novak wrote more notes. Then we're likely looking at joint custody. The affair won't change that unless we can demonstrate it directly impacted the child's welfare. So she cheats, lies, helps her boyfriend steal from our company, and she still gets half of everything? Not quite everything, Whitmore said. Community property means assets acquired during the marriage get divided equally. But, and this is important, if we can prove Todd's embezzlement and Emily's knowledge of it, that changes the calculation. Money stolen from the business is money stolen from you. We can argue for reimbursement. Did she know? Novak asked. About the embezzlement? I thought about Emily managing our household finances, her careful attention to our accounts. I don't know, maybe. She's smart enough to notice discrepancies. We'll need to establish that, Whitmore said. The forensic accountant can help. What about the $50,000 loan to Todd? Personal loan. His mother needed surgery. I wrote him a check from our joint account. Do you have documentation? A promissory note? Repayment terms? Email confirmation. He said he'd pay me back within a year, 5% interest. When was this? 6 months ago. Novak made another note. We'll want to recover that as part of the partnership dissolution. It's a legitimate business debt. Whitmore clicked through more files on the screen. These hotel charges, they're all on company cards? About 70%. The rest are cash withdrawals that line up with the dates. And you have signatory authority on all company accounts? Yes. Equal partnership, equal access. Good. Don't change anything yet. Don't freeze accounts, don't alter access. We want a complete picture before we make any moves. He closed the files, ejected the flash drive, handed it back to me. Here's what happens next. Patricia will draw up divorce papers. I'll handle the partnership dissolution. We're going to need that forensic audit. I'll send you contact information for someone I trust. In the meantime, you continue acting normal. For how long? Until we have everything documented. Could be a week, could be 2. Depends on what the audit uncovers. And then? Then we serve papers. Both sets, same day if possible. Maximum impact, minimum opportunity for them to coordinate a response. Novak leaned forward. Mr. Brenner, I need to ask, are you certain you want to proceed this way? Once we file, there's no going back. Some couples choose counseling, mediation. She's been screwing my best friend in hotel rooms paid for with company money. My voice came out flat, cold. My business partner stole from me while sitting at my dinner table every Sunday, while my daughter called him Uncle Todd. There's nothing to mediate. Understood. She didn't flinch. Then we move forward. I'll need you to document everything about your marriage. Assets, debts, income, expenses. Everything in your house that has significant value. I'll send you a questionnaire. How detailed? Very. Down to the wedding china if it's worth more than a few $100s. Whitmore stood, signaling the end of the meeting. A few more things. First, Open a new bank account in your name only. Start directing your paycheck there. Second, make copies of every financial document you can access. Tax returns, investment statements, mortgage papers, everything. Third, change your passwords. All of them. Email, cloud storage, bank accounts. Emily will notice. Probably. But by the time she does, we'll have what we need. Tell her you got a security alert, had to update everything. Keep it vague. I stood, shook both their hands. The meeting had lasted 40 minutes. 40 minutes to dismantle 9 years of marriage, 6 years of partnership. One last question, I said at the door. How long does this usually take? The whole process. Divorce in California has a 6-month waiting period from filing to finalization, Novak said. Partnership dissolution depends on the complexity. With embezzlement involved, potentially longer. So by Christmas, maybe? Possibly, if everything goes smoothly. I walked back through the reception area, past the expensive art and the polished floors. My phone buzzed as I reached the elevator. Todd again, his 5th call of the day. We need to talk, please. I deleted the message without responding. The text from Emily arrived at 2:47 a.m. Thursday morning, 2 days after I discovered everything. Can't sleep. Keep thinking about us. Remember our first apartment? The radiator that clanked all night? We were so happy then. What happened to us? I stared at the message in the darkness of the guest room where I'd been sleeping since Wednesday night. Emily had noticed, of course. I'd told her my back was acting up, that the firmer mattress helped. Another lie to add to the collection we were both building. What happened to us? The question would have been funny if it weren't so insulting. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened the folder on my phone where I'd been organizing everything. Screenshots, bank statements, hotel receipts. The attorneys had copies of all of it, but I kept my own archive. Old habits from project management. Always maintain your own records. My phone buzzed again. I know you're awake. I can see you're reading these. Then, 30 seconds later. David, please. I feel like you've been distant lately. Is everything okay with work? With us? The sheer nerve of it made my jaw clench. She was setting up her narrative, I realized. Creating a paper trail of the concerned wife reaching out to her withdrawn husband. If this went to court, she'd point to these messages as evidence that I'd been emotionally unavailable, that our marriage had problems before. Before what? Before I caught her? I typed back, everything's fine, just stressed about the Callahan project. Go to sleep. Okay, love you. I didn't respond to that. Thursday morning, I took Lily to school like always. She chattered about her upcoming field trip to the Science Museum, about how her friend Sophie had gotten a new backpack with unicorns on it. Normal 7-year-old concerns, a universe away from the one I was inhabiting. Daddy, you're not listening, she said, as we pulled into the drop-off lane. I am, sweetheart. Sophie's backpack. Unicorns. But what do you think about the permission slip? Can I go? I had no memory of any permission slip. Of course you can go. Have Mom sign it tonight, okay? She beamed at me, grabbed her backpack, and was gone in a flash of pink jacket and blonde ponytail. I watched her disappear into the building, and for just a moment the careful control I'd maintained threatened to crack. She had no idea. In a week, maybe 2, her entire world would shatter. Custody arrangements, 2 houses, holidays split down the middle. My phone rang. Todd's name appeared on the screen. I'd been avoiding his calls since Tuesday night. 17 missed calls, 12 voicemails I hadn't listened to, countless texts that I'd only skimmed. The attorneys had advised me to maintain minimal contact, to document everything, to say nothing that could be used against me later. But I was running out of excuses. We had a business to run, clients who expected both partners to be available. Our administrative assistant, Kelly, had already asked me twice why Todd and I weren't syncing up on the Perez account. I answered. Finally, Todd said. His voice sounded rough, like he hadn't slept. Jesus Christ, David, I've been trying to reach you for days. I've been busy. We need to talk, in person, not at the office. About what? Silence on the other end. Then, you know about what? I kept my voice level, almost bored. I really don't have time for cryptic conversations right now, Todd. I've got the Callahan presentation this afternoon and… Stop. His voice cracked. Just stop, okay? I know you know. Emily told me you've been acting strange, sleeping in the guest room, barely talking to her. And you've been dodging me since Tuesday night, right after… He trailed off. I waited. Right after the photos uploaded, he finished quietly. There it was. The admission I'd been waiting for, recorded automatically by my phone's call recording app. Virginia was a one-party consent state, I'd checked. I don't know what you're talking about, I said. David. But since you mentioned the Callahan presentation, I actually do need to go over some budget items with you. The client entertainment expenses from the last quarter seem unusually high. Want to walk me through those? The silence stretched out for so long I thought he'd hung up. You bastard, he said finally. You're really going to do this? After everything we've been through? I was your best man. I'm Lily's godfather. We built this company together. And you borrowed $50,000 from me for your mother's surgery, I said. Don't forget that part. I'll pay you back, every cent. I just need time. I'm sure you will. I'm also sure we can discuss the repayment schedule with our attorneys present. Our attorneys? His voice rose. You've already talked to lawyers? When? I have a meeting in 20 minutes, Todd. Was there anything else? Yeah, there's something else. He was angry now, the desperation replaced by something harder. You want to play it this way? Fine. But you might want to ask Emily about whose idea this whole thing was in the first place. Whose idea what was? The affair. Ask her who pursued who. Ask her about the things she said about you, about your marriage. Ask her about the plan. My hand tightened on the steering wheel. What plan? Ask your wife, David. Ask her what she wanted me to help her with. He hung up. I sat in the school parking lot, engine running, trying to process what he'd just said. The plan. What plan? My phone buzzed with a text from James Whitmore, my divorce attorney. Forensic accountant found something. Can you come in today? Whitmore's office was in a glass tower downtown, the kind of building with a lobby that echoed and security guards who checked IDs. I'd been here twice already this week, but it still felt surreal. Like I was playing a role in someone else's life. The forensic accountant was a woman named Julie Preston, mid-40s, with reading glasses on a chain and the no-nonsense demeanor of someone who'd seen every financial trick in the book. Mr. Brenner, she said, shaking my hand. I've been reviewing your company's books for the past 36 hours. You were right to be concerned. We sat around Whitmore's conference table. Julie opened her laptop and turned it so I could see the screen. The $12,000 in fraudulent hotel charges you identified? That's just the surface. Your partner has been systematically siphoning money from the company for approximately 18 months. 18 months. The affair had been going on for at least 18 months. How much? I asked. So far, I've documented roughly $87,000. But there are some transactions I'm still tracing. The final number could be over $100,000. The room tilted slightly. $100,000. Our operating account, our reserve fund, money that was supposed to be for expansion, for hiring new staff, for… There's more, Julie said. The pattern of withdrawals accelerated significantly about 4 months ago. That's when he started getting sloppy, coding personal expenses as business charges instead of hiding them in the more sophisticated shell transactions he'd been using. Why would he get sloppy? Whitmore asked. Julie glanced at me, then back at her screen. In my experience, usually because they're planning an exit, they know they're going to get caught eventually, so they grab what they can while they can. An exit, I repeated. From the business, the relationship, the situation, whatever they're trying to escape from. She pulled up another spreadsheet. There's also this. Your partner increased his distribution significantly over the past year while keeping yours at the same level. He's been voting himself raises without your knowledge or consent. I thought about the partnership agreement we'd signed 6 years ago. Equal ownership, equal decision-making authority, equal distributions. I'd trusted Todd to handle the financial paperwork while I focused on client relations and project delivery. Trust. That word again. Can we recover any of it? I asked. Possibly, Whitmore said. But it depends on where the money went. If he spent it, if it's gone. He spread his hands. You can get a judgment, but collecting on it is another matter. He'll claim it was legitimate business expenses, Julie added. He'll produce receipts, invoices, explanations. It'll be your word against his about what was authorized. Except I never authorized any of it, I said, which you'll need to prove. Do you have documentation of your partnership procedures? Email trails showing you weren't consulted? Board minutes? I thought about our casual approach to running the business, the handshake deals, the verbal agreements, the assumption that we were on the same team. Some, I said. Not enough. Julie closed her laptop. Then we build what we can. I'll keep digging. Financial fraud leaves traces, Mr. Brenner. People think they're clever, but money always tells a story. I left Whitmore's office at noon and sat in my car in the parking garage, trying to decide what to do next. Todd's words kept echoing in my head. Ask her about the plan. My phone rang. Emily. Hey, she said when I answered. Where are you? I thought we could have lunch together, like we used to. I'm downtown, meeting with a client. Oh. Disappointment in her voice, carefully calibrated. Well, maybe dinner then? I could make that pasta you like. We could talk. Talk about what? About us. About why you've been so distant. David, I'm worried about you. The performance was almost impressive. If I didn't know better, I'd believe her. I'll be home around 6, I said. Okay, I love you. I hung up without saying it back. The text from Emily arrived at 2:47 p.m., just as I was wrapping up a conference call with our manufacturing partners in Ohio. Can we talk tonight, after Lily goes to bed? Please. I stared at the message for exactly 10 seconds before responding. Sure. 8:30? Her reply came immediately. Thank you. I forwarded the exchange to Whitmore with a single line. She's making her move. His response pinged back within minutes. Record everything. Virginia is a one-party consent state. Voice recorder app on your phone. Keep it in your shirt pocket. The rest of the afternoon crawled. I sat through a budget review meeting where I nodded at appropriate intervals while my mind calculated possibilities. Emily wanted to talk. About what? The affair? The marriage? Some carefully rehearsed confession designed to minimize her culpability? Or maybe Todd was right. Maybe there was a plan. I thought about the life insurance increase, the renovation that put our finances under strain, the way she'd been so insistent about me signing those updated beneficiary forms last month. My phone buzzed again at 4:15. Todd this time. We need to meet, face to face. You're making a mistake. I deleted it without responding. I stopped at the grocery store on the way home, maintaining the routine. Picked up ingredients for Lily's favorite dinner, chicken parmesan with the good mozzarella from the deli counter. Grabbed a bottle of wine that Emily liked, something I'd normally do if we were having a talk. Play the part. Stay in character. Emily's car was already in the driveway when I pulled up at 5:40. Through the kitchen window, I could see her moving around, starting dinner prep. She'd beaten me to it. "Daddy!" Lily launched herself at me the moment I walked through the door, backpack still dangling from one shoulder. "Mom said we're having chicken parm." "That's right, sweetheart." I scooped her up, breathing in the strawberry scent of her shampoo. "How was school?" "Good. We started our solar system project, and I got to be team leader, and Mrs. Patterson said my idea about making Saturn's rings out of pipe cleaners was really creative and— David." Emily appeared in the doorway to the kitchen, dish towel in her hands. She looked tired. Dark circles under her eyes that makeup couldn't quite hide. "Hi." "Hey." I set Lily down gently. "Go wash up, kiddo. Homework before dinner." "But Dad." "No buts. 20 minutes of reading, remember?" She trudged upstairs with the dramatic sighs only a 7-year-old could muster. Emily and I stood in the hallway, 3 feet of hardwood floor between us that might as well have been the Grand Canyon. "I got wine," I said, holding up the bottle. Something flickered across her face. Relief? Guilt? "That's— Thank you. That's nice." "Well?" I moved past her into the kitchen, close enough to smell her perfume, the same one she'd been wearing for years. "We're talking tonight, right? Might as well be civilized about it." She flinched. Actually flinched. Good. Dinner was a masterclass in pretending. Emily asked Lily about her day. Lily chattered about the solar system project and her friend Madison's birthday party next weekend. I contributed appropriate comments and made sure Lily ate her vegetables. A normal family dinner. Except Emily's hands shook slightly when she reached for her water glass. Except I noticed she'd barely touched her food. Except the weight of everything unsaid pressed down on the table like a physical presence. "Can I watch my show?" Lily asked, scraping the last of her green beans onto her fork. Emily glanced at me. I nodded. 30 minutes, Emily said. Then bath and bed. "Okay," Lily bounced off toward the living room. Emily started clearing plates. I helped, and we moved around each other in the kitchen with the practiced choreography of 9 years of marriage. Load the dishwasher, wipe down the counters, put away leftovers, not speaking. At 7:45, I went upstairs to supervise bath time and read Lily her bedtime story. She picked the one about the dragon who was afraid of heights, a favorite she'd heard probably 50 times. I read it on autopilot, doing the voices she liked, while my mind ran through scenarios for the conversation downstairs. "Daddy?" Lily's voice was sleepy. "Are you and Mom fighting?" My hand froze mid-page turn. "Why would you think that?" "You're both being weird. Like when Grandma and Grandpa visit and everyone's super polite but nobody's really talking. 7 years old and already too perceptive. Mom and I are fine, sweetheart. Just some grown-up stuff we need to discuss. Nothing for you to worry about." She studied me with those serious brown eyes. Emily's eyes. "Promise?" The lie tasted like acid. "Promise. Now sleep. You've got school tomorrow." I kissed her forehead and turned off the light, leaving her door cracked the way she liked it. Emily was in the living room when I came downstairs, sitting on the edge of the couch with a glass of wine she hadn't touched. She'd changed into yoga pants and an old college sweatshirt. Comfortable clothes. Disarming clothes. I pulled out my phone, opened the voice recorder app, and slipped it into my shirt pocket as I walked to the kitchen. Poured myself a glass of the wine I'd brought. Took a long drink. Then I walked into the living room and sat in the armchair across from her. Not next to her on the couch. The geography mattered. "So," I said, "let's talk." She took a breath. Let it out slowly. "I don't know where to start. The beginning usually works." "David." "How long, Emily?" The question came out harder than I'd intended. "That's probably a good starting point." Her fingers twisted together in her lap. It's complicated. Uncomplicated. 6 months. The words were barely a whisper. A little over 6 months. 6 months. Not 4. The forensic accountant had been right. The evidence I'd found was just the tip of things. Todd, I said. It wasn't a question. She nodded, not meeting my eyes. My business partner, my best friend, the man who stood up at our wedding. I kept my voice level, clinical. That Todd. I know how it looks. Do you? I leaned forward. Do you really? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've been sleeping with my business partner for half a year, while I've been working 60-hour weeks to keep our company afloat and pay for the renovation you wanted. It wasn't supposed to happen, her voice cracked. It started as conversations. He was having problems with Rachel and I was feeling disconnected from you and we'd talk and one thing led to another, I finished. Is that really the story you're going with? You accidentally fell into bed with him? No. She finally looked up and there were tears on her cheeks. No, that's not what I'm saying. I made choices. I know that. I'm trying to explain. Then explain. Explain the hotel rooms, the lingerie I've never seen, the lies about book club and work training. Explain how you looked me in the eye every single day and it was my idea. I stopped mid-sentence. Emily wiped at her face with the back of her hand. The affair. It was my idea. Todd, he didn't want to, not at first. I pushed it. The room tilted slightly. What? I initiated it. 6 months ago, after the company dinner at Russo's. You and Todd were talking about the new contracts, and I realized... She took a shaky breath. I realized I could. Could what? Have something that was mine. Something separate from being Lily's mom or your wife or the person who manages the household finances while you build your empire with your best friend. Her voice gained strength, an edge creeping in. Do you know what it's like? Being the supporting character in everyone else's story? I stared at her. So this is my fault? You cheated because I worked too much? No. Yes. I don't know. She stood up, pacing. I'm not trying to blame you. I'm trying to make you understand. Understand what? That you were bored? That you felt neglected? So you decided to destroy our marriage, our family, my business partnership? I never meant for you to find out. The words hung in the air between us. I set my wine glass down very carefully on the side table, my hand steady despite the rage building in my chest. You never meant for me to find out, I repeated. So this conversation. What is this, Emily? Damage control? You realized I saw the photos and now you're trying to get ahead of it? She wrapped her arms around herself. Todd said you've been acting strange, distant. He thinks you know. Todd thinks a lot of things, apparently. I stood up, pulling my phone from my pocket. Did he also tell you about the $87,000 he stole from our company? The money he used to fund your hotel rooms and dinners? Her face went pale. What are you talking about? The forensic accountant finished her audit yesterday. 18 months of systematic embezzlement. But it really picked up 6 months ago. I watched her carefully. Right around when you two started your affair. I didn't know about any, didn't you? I pulled up the files on my phone, turned the screen toward her. You manage our household finances, Emily. You're meticulous about every dollar. But you never noticed the cash withdrawals, the hotel charges, the restaurant bills? She stared at the screen, and I saw the moment the reality hit her. Whatever story she'd been telling herself, whatever justification she'd constructed, it crumbled. He said they were business expenses, she whispered. They were. The business of sleeping with my wife. She sank back onto the couch. David, I swear I didn't know he was stealing. I thought, he has money. His consulting work, the company distributions. The distributions he voted himself without my authorization. The raises he gave himself while keeping mine flat. I sat back down, suddenly tired. What was the plan, Emily? What? Todd mentioned a plan, right before he told me to ask you whose idea the affair was. So I'm asking, what was the plan? She wouldn't meet my eyes. Emily, there was no plan. Not like you're thinking. Then what was it like? A long silence. Then, I wanted out. The admission hit like a physical blow. Out of what? I asked, though I already knew. The marriage. This life. All of it. She looked up at me, and her expression was something I'd never seen before. Not quite defiant, not quite ashamed. I've been unhappy for years, David. Years. And I didn't know how to tell you because you're so good. You're a good father, a good provider. You never yell, never forget anniversaries, never give me anything concrete to complain about. Except I'm boring, I said flatly. Except you're not here, not really. You're at work, or thinking about work, or planning for work. And when you are home, you're going through the motions. We're roommates who happen to have a kid together. So you thought sleeping with Todd would what? Make me notice you? No, she shook her head. I thought it would make me brave enough to leave. The words settled between us like fallout. The renovation, I said slowly. The life insurance increase. The beneficiary forms you had me sign last month. That wasn't, she stopped. Okay. Yes. I was preparing. Making sure I'd be okay financially if we split. Making sure Lily would be taken care of. Making sure you'd get your half of everything. It's not like that. Then what is it like, Emily? Explain it to me. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've been planning to divorce me for months, but you wanted to make sure you had everything lined up first. The affair with Todd, the financial preparations, maybe even getting him to steal from the company so there'd be less to split. No, she stood up. I never asked him to steal. I never wanted that. I just wanted… She trailed off. What? What did you want? I wanted to feel something again, she said quietly. Anything. And Todd made me feel seen. Like I mattered. Like I was more than just the person who packs Lily's lunch and pays the bills and makes sure there's milk in the fridge. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw a stranger. 9 years of marriage, and I had no idea who this person was. You could have talked to me, I said. You could have suggested counseling. You could have done literally anything except destroy everything we built. Would you have listened? Really listened? Or would you have added it to your task list, scheduled it between client meetings and project reviews? The accusation stung because there was truth in it. I was a project manager. I solved problems, fixed things. Maybe I would have approached our marriage like a failing account that needed restructuring, but I would have tried. I guess we'll never know, I said. Emily wiped at her eyes. What happens now? I pulled out the envelope I'd been carrying in my jacket pocket for 2 days. Set it on the coffee table between us. You've been served. Divorce papers. My attorney will be in touch about custody arrangements. She stared at the envelope like it might bite her. You've already filed? Yesterday. And before you ask, yes. I'm also dissolving the partnership with Todd. The forensic accountant's report has been turned over to the district attorney. He'll likely face criminal charges for the embezzlement. David, please, I'm also calling in the $50,000 loan, immediately. He has 30 days to repay it in full or I'll add it to the civil suit. He doesn't have that kind of money. Not my problem. I stood up. I'll be staying at the Marriott downtown until we figure out custody logistics. My attorney suggests week on, week off with Lily, but we can negotiate. You're leaving tonight? I already packed. My bags are in the car. She looked genuinely shocked, like some part of her had believed we'd work this out. Have a good cry, maybe go to counseling, sweep it all under the rug. What do I tell Lily? She asked. The truth. That sometimes marriages end. That we both love her. That this isn't her fault. I headed toward the door, then stopped. Actually, maybe leave out the part about you sleeping with her godfather. She doesn't need that detail. David, one more thing. I turned back. The house. I paid the down payment from my inheritance. I've covered 70% of the mortgage. My attorney is arguing it should be considered separate property, but we'll probably end up selling it and splitting the proceeds. So you might want to start looking for a new place. Her face crumpled. You're really doing this? You did this, Emily. You and Todd. I'm just dealing with the aftermath. I walked out of the house we'd bought together, past the photos of our wedding and Lily's baby pictures, past 9 years of accumulated life. My overnight bag was already in the trunk. I'd packed it that morning, knowing how this conversation would end. The Marriott was 15 minutes away. I'd booked a suite with a separate bedroom for when Lily visited. My attorney had advised me to establish a stable living situation immediately. It would look better for custody. I was still thinking like a project manager. Breaking down the crisis into manageable tasks. Execute systematically. My phone rang as I pulled into the hotel parking garage. Todd, I answered. You son of a... I'm recording this call, I said calmly. Just so you know. Silence. Then, Emily told me you filed. She works fast. This is insane. We can work this out. The money. I'll pay back every cent. The affair, it's over. Done. We'll never see each other again. Just drop the charges and we can figure out the partnership dissolution like rational adults. Rational adults don't steal $87,000 from their business partner. I was going to pay it back. When? After you'd bled the company dry? After you'd convinced Emily to leave me and run off with you? That was never the plan. What was the plan, Todd? Emily says she wanted out of the marriage. You say she pursued you. But the money, that was all you. So what was the end game? Take my wife, take my money, and leave me with what? The debt from the renovation? The company stripped of its operating capital? It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? The line went quiet for a long moment. When Todd spoke again, his voice was different. Flat. Defeated. I was in love with her. I've been in love with her since before you got married. The admission should have hurt more than it did. And the money? I asked. I needed it. Rachel left me, cleaned out our accounts. I had debts. I was going to pay it back once the Callahan contract came through. By stealing from me. By borrowing from our company. Our company, David. I built it too. You stole from it. There's a difference. I pulled into a parking space, killed the engine. The DA will explain it to you, probably in detail. You're really going to send me to prison after everything we've been through? You really slept with my wife for 6 months and stole nearly $100,000 from me after everything we've been through? I hung up. The divorce took 8 months to finalize. Emily fought the custody arrangement at first, but her attorney eventually convinced her that joint custody was the best she'd get. We sold the house in March. I bought a smaller place near Lily's school. Emily moved into a condo across town. Todd pled guilty to embezzlement in exchange for a reduced sentence. 18 months, eligible for parole after 12. He'll never pay back the full amount. His assets barely covered a third of what he stole. But the civil judgment stands. If he ever makes real money again, I'll get a portion. The company survived. Barely. I bought out Todd's share for pennies on the dollar. His attorney was desperate to liquidate assets for the restitution payments. I brought in a new partner, a woman named Jessica Yang, who I'd worked with years ago. She's sharp, ethical, and has no interest in my personal life. Lily adjusted better than I expected. Kids are resilient. She has her own room at both houses, her own routines. Emily and I are cordial at drop-offs and school events. We're not friends. We'll never be friends. But we can stand in the same room without bleeding. I don't date. People ask, well-meaning friends who think I should get back out there. But I'm not ready. Maybe I never will be. The idea of trusting someone that completely again feels impossible. Some nights, after Lily's asleep and the house is quiet, I think about the life I thought I had, the marriage I believed in, the friendship I valued. How much of it was real, and how much was just a story I told myself because the truth was too ugly to see? I don't have good answers. What I learned is this: you can do everything right and still lose. You can be faithful, hardworking, present, and still end up alone in a half-empty house, wondering where it all went wrong. There's no cosmic justice, no guarantee that virtue gets rewarded or betrayal gets punished in proportion to the harm. But you survive anyway. You wake up, make breakfast, take your daughter to school. You rebuild what can be rebuilt and learn to live without what can't. You stop looking for meaning in the wreckage and start looking for solid ground to stand on. And slowly, so slowly you barely notice, the weight gets lighter. I'm not happy. Not yet. Maybe not for a long time, but I'm free. And some days that's enough.